My stepdaughter kicked me out of her own wedding party so her real father, the man who abandoned her, could take my place. I paid for the entire wedding and raised her my whole life. What happened next left everyone speechless. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I'm a 63-year-old man, and I never thought I'd be writing something like this. But here we are. My wife, a 59-year-old woman, and I have been married for a little over 20 years. When I met her, she was freshly divorced and raising a 1-year-old daughter on her own. The backstory is something I learned slowly over the years. But here's the summary. Her ex found out she was pregnant, freaked out, packed his bags, and vanished like someone sprinting out of a burning building. He told her he never wanted to be a parent, didn't want contact, and didn't want to be responsible for anything related to a child. She didn't chase him, didn't fight him, didn't beg. She signed the papers and moved on with her life. When she introduced me to her little girl, her name is Tessa in this version, she was maybe 18 months old, still wobbly on her feet, still learning to talk, still carrying around a blanket she chewed on whenever she was sleepy. I wasn't her father. I knew that. Everyone knew that. But she reached her hands up to me the first time we met, and that was it. I was done for. Something in me just clicked. I wanted to protect her. I wanted to show up for her. And over the years, I did. I taught her how to ride a bike, jogging behind her for what felt like miles until she finally wobbled forward on her own. I was at every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every sports practice. I patched up scraped knees, helped her with homework, and listened to her talk for hours about the things she loved. She started calling me dad on her own, not because anyone told her to, not because it was expected, just because she wanted to. And I loved her like she was my own blood. I still do, even after everything. When she turned 23, she got engaged to a guy named Evan, who, honestly, seemed like a nice enough kid. The moment she told me, I hugged her so hard she squeaked and told her I'd help with whatever she needed. A week later, she asked if I'd pay for the entire wedding. I didn't even blink. Of course I would. She was my kid. That's what you do. Then she asked if I would walk her down the aisle. I cried. Not a full ugly cry, but the kind where your throat gets tight and your eyes sting and you pretend you suddenly have allergies. I was so honored I could barely speak. Everything was perfect. Until it wasn't. About 2 months before the wedding, my wife came home looking strange, nervous, like she had swallowed a secret and it was clawing its way back up her throat. She said her ex, the runaway father, had reached out suddenly. He was in town for work. He wanted to meet his daughter. I felt sick, but I also knew I had no right to bar her from meeting him. She wasn't a child anymore. She could make her own choices. So I told my wife to let Tessa decide, and she did. And Tessa said yes. They met at a cafe the next day. I didn't go. I felt like if I saw him, I might say something unforgivable. A few hours later, she came home with mascara streaks on her cheeks, but she was smiling. She said she hugged him the moment she saw him. Said she felt something she didn't know she was missing. I tried to be supportive. Really, I did. But deep down, something cracked. Then the days started getting strange. She grew distant, stopped texting me updates, started talking about getting to know him better. My wife kept telling me to relax. But then the wedding day came, and everything broke. I had arrived a little late because of a sudden work call. My wife had already gone inside. I was straightening my tie when a huge security guy stepped in front of me. "Sorry, sir, I can't let you in." I laughed because I thought he was joking. I told him I was the bride's father. He shook his head and handed me an envelope. "It's from her. She said you'd understand." I stepped away from the line because people were staring. I opened the envelope, and the letter inside was so short, it looked like she'd written it in a panic. It said she loved me, appreciated me, respected everything I'd ever done, but I wasn't her real father. Her actual dad would be walking her down the aisle. And she didn't want me inside because she didn't want him to feel uncomfortable seeing me. She ended with, "I hope you can find it in your heart to understand." Understand. I couldn't even breathe. My vision blurred. It felt like someone had hit me in the chest with a bat. I stood outside the venue listening to music and laughter drift from inside. Somewhere in there, the man who had abandoned her before she was even born was holding her arm while my seat sat empty. I called a taxi because I knew if I drove, I'd crash. My wife called me dozens of times. She must have realized what happened when she saw who was walking beside our daughter. She came home hours later, crying and panicked and apologizing, but I couldn't say a word back. I just lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The next morning, I made my decision. I'm done. I canceled every payment connected to the wedding. The caterer, photographer, decor company, all of it. I stopped paying her graduate school tuition. I took the car I bought her off my insurance plan. I rewrote my will and removed her entirely. I don't do this out of spite. I do it because she made her choice. She chose who she wants to call father, and I am simply respecting that. My wife says she's already hearing rumblings that Tessa is confused because vendors are calling her asking about unpaid balances. She hasn't contacted me yet, but I know she will. Honestly, I don't want to see her for a long, long time. I don't know if that makes me the villain here, but I'm tired of feeling disposable. I gave her 22 years of fatherhood, and she traded it away for a man she barely knew. 3 days after the wedding disaster, the quiet in my house felt unnatural. My wife kept trying to talk to me, but every time she opened her mouth, I could see guilt written all over her. I did not trust myself to speak calmly yet. On the 4th day, the fallout began. I was in the garage fixing a loose shelf when my phone buzzed. It was a number I did not recognize. I ignored it. A minute later, the same number called again, then again. Finally, I picked up. Before I could say anything, someone screeched into the receiver. "Why are people calling me saying nothing is paid? What did you do?" It was Tessa. Her voice was higher than usual, breathless, frantic. I could hear someone talking in the background, probably her husband trying to calm her down. I kept my tone neutral, completely steady. "I canceled my support," I said. There was a long silence, followed by a shocked inhale. "You did what?" "I canceled every payment I was responsible for. I also removed you from my will." Her voice cracked. "You cannot be serious." "I am." Her breathing became uneven. "You said you loved me. You said you would always help me. How could you do something like this?" I stayed quiet for a moment, choosing my words carefully. "You removed me from your wedding for the man who abandoned you. You told the security guard I was not your real dad. You said you did not want him to feel uncomfortable around me. You made your choice. That is not fair," she shouted. "He is my father by blood. I wanted to give him a chance. You gave him my place," I said. "Not a chance. My place." There was a long pause. I could hear her husband whisper something to her again, probably telling her to apologize. She ignored him. "Do you know how humiliating this is?" she said. "Do you know how many vendors are calling me? The bill for the venue alone is enormous. I cannot afford this." "That is unfortunate," I replied. "But that is not my responsibility anymore." She let out an angry, furious sound. "You are punishing me for wanting to know my real dad? No. I am letting you live with the consequences of pushing me out." There was another long silence. I could hear her breathing hitch. "So that is it? After everything? You are just giving up on me?" I closed my eyes. "No, you gave up on me." I hung up before she could reply. I sat in the garage for a long time after that, staring at the wall. My hands were shaking, but not out of anger, out of sadness. A sadness so heavy it felt glued to my bones. My wife found me there an hour later. She looked devastated. "I just talked to her," she whispered. "She is hysterical. Her voice is gone from crying." I did not say anything. She walked closer, wringing her hands. "She admitted it," my wife said softly. "She admitted that she told security not to let you in. She said her father asked for it. He said he would only walk her down the aisle if you were kept out of sight." I froze. "So it was a condition," I said. My wife nodded, and she agreed to it. That part hurt more than anything else. She agreed. She accepted that deal. She traded me for a moment of approval from a stranger who happened to share her DNA. My wife continued speaking, voice trembling. "She is begging me to convince you to undo everything. She says she made a mistake and acted out of emotion. She wants to come talk to you." I shook my head. "Not yet. I cannot see her yet." My wife looked like she wanted to argue, but she must have seen something in my face, because she lowered her eyes. That night, I heard her crying quietly in the bathroom. She did not think I heard, but I did. She felt torn between her husband and her daughter, and I did not envy the position she was in. The next morning, the situation escalated. I was drinking coffee when someone started pounding on the front door. Not knocking, pounding. When I opened it, there she was. Tessa. Mascara smudged, hair messy, still wearing her silk honeymoon robe over leggings. Her eyes were swollen, her cheeks blotchy. She looked at me as if she expected me to pull her into a hug. I did not move. She stepped forward slightly. "Please," she whispered. "Please, can we talk?" Behind her, her husband stood awkwardly near the car, arms crossed, clearly unsure if he should intervene or stay silent. "I think you said what you needed to say the day of the wedding," I answered. Her lip trembled. "I was wrong," she said desperately. "I messed up so badly. I did not think it through. I was emotional. I was excited. I wanted to feel like I finally had a connection with him. He kept telling me he regretted leaving. He said he wanted to make it up to me. He said the only way he could truly show me that he cared was by giving me my dream wedding moment. He said he would only walk me down the aisle if you were not there." "And you agreed," I said. She shut her eyes. "I did, and I hate myself for it. I ruined everything. You did, I said gently. You did ruin everything. She let out a sob, then grabbed my hand before I could pull away. Do not abandon me, she cried. Please, do not leave me. You are the only father I have ever known. I made a mistake, a huge one. I will spend the rest of my life trying to fix it. I pulled my hand free. You did not care about my feelings on your wedding day, I said softly. You cared about his. I know, she said frantically. I know, but he is gone now. That made me pause. What do you mean gone? She wiped her face with her sleeve. He left the morning after the wedding. He said he had to fly back home. He did not answer my calls afterward. He blocked me. I think he never wanted anything except the attention. I think he wanted to prove something to you. Or to my mother. Or to himself. I stared at her. So the man she had destroyed her relationship with me for had vanished within hours of achieving whatever twisted point he wanted to make. And now she was on my doorstep, empty-handed, hollow-eyed and frightened. Please, she whispered again. Please, Dad. I am begging you. The word Dad hit me hard. It felt different now, unearned, thrown around as a tool of desperation rather than love. I took a deep breath. You need to go home, I said. Her eyes widened. No, please, I cannot lose you. You already lost me, I replied quietly. I need time. Maybe a long time, maybe forever. I do not know yet, but I cannot fix this right now. She broke down again, shaking uncontrollably. Her husband rushed over and wrapped his arms around her as he led her back toward the car. She looked back at me with a face full of despair. I am so sorry, she cried. I am so sorry. Please believe me. I closed the door gently. Then I slid down the wall and cried harder than I have in 20 years. For the next week, the house stayed strangely quiet. My wife walked around looking worried all the time, like she was waiting for something to explode. She didn't pressure me to talk, and I appreciated that. Tessa didn't show up again, but she sent a few short messages. Things like, I'm sorry, I miss you, please talk to me. I couldn't bring myself to answer. Every time I tried, I remembered standing outside that venue with a letter in my hands telling me I wasn't her real father. One afternoon, my wife sat beside me on the couch. She looked exhausted. She called me today, she said softly. She's not doing well. She's embarrassed, overwhelmed, and angry at herself. I'm not ready, I replied. I know, she said. But I'm worried she's going to break completely if you stay silent forever. I didn't respond to that. She wasn't wrong. But I also couldn't force myself to pretend everything was fine. Later that evening, something unexpected happened. My phone buzzed with a message from an unfamiliar number. When I opened it, it was a screenshot of a post. It was from Tessa's biological father's social media. A picture of him at a bar, arm around a new woman, captioned with something like, "Life is too short to get tied down with the past." No mention of her, no regret, no acknowledgement of what he'd caused. A minute later, another text came in, this time from Tessa herself. I saw it. I feel stupid. I'm so sorry. Just that. No drama, no begging. Just raw honesty. For the first time since the wedding, I didn't feel anger. I felt sad for her. She had been manipulated by a man who only showed up long enough to destroy the one relationship that had always been steady. I didn't call her. I wasn't ready, but I typed a short reply. We will talk. Just not yet. She responded with a single word. Thank you. My wife saw the exchange and let out a long breath, as if she had been holding it for days. Maybe one day we will fix things. Not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But at least the door isn't completely closed anymore. And for now, that is enough.